Area 51 and the UFOs, and I go through everything to find out what happened. Right. Did you do that?
That's why you will not be president. That's the first thing that you would do.
The
aliens won't let it happen.
Let's talk about the earthquakes. What? The earthquakes? Yes.
Without a doubt.
Well said.
Why would anybody, what possible payoff, David, could I have from being the victim, from being the subject to a perpetrator? You know, what possible good could I get out of life from being victimized? I'll go right up in your face on this one. We'll go in the close shot.
Pontoons and baboons and Jesus is coming soon. I mean, seriously.
That's another thing.
Right here is where we look and think.
Do the mental gymnastics for the viewers.
When a mind like Johnny Mac can say, this happened, there's too much community in these people who've said they've been abducted, there's too much emotional baggage, something is happening. What is it? That's the question.
That is as big as Wilcock.
We jump down those rabbit holes.
Who knows?
Are you serious?
One of the ladies that I know is a full-grown woman, reached up, put her arm around the little guy. He was like, oh my gosh. She grabbed his eye cover and tore it off. That's the weirdest thing in the world, but it works all the time. It's real easy. Take my words for that.
But they don't ask, what are they doing here? Why? Where are they from?
Welcome to the coming apocalypse.
All right, all right, all right.
I'm good here.
A rock star called me up one day by the name of Tom DeLong, who happened to be passionate about this issue and had seen an article I had published. And just out of the blue, he called, and he had a company he was standing up called To the Stars Academy of Arts and Sciences.
These people are making history, and that is what should be considered important, not their label.
Are you serious?
It's ridiculous.
Don't let me get started.
All of what has been put forth as evidence for aliens, to me, is insufficient evidence to excite my interest, my research interest in devoting time to finding it out. But it definitely has excited other people.
Without a doubt.
Excuse me while the landscapers finish.
Are you serious?
I got a taste of that nice suburban life that I thought I didn't want, and I just said, I'm good here.
It doesn't get any better, does it?
One man is trying to save the planet from unknown forces. He has hidden powers. David Wilcock. Unicorn powers. With the protection of Archangel Michael, Wilcock is going to save humanity. The legend. Stephen King. As a researcher, you get the latest information on his YouTube channel, Truth Seekers. Don't miss it. Subscribe now. They're fighting evil.
All right, all right, all right.
Yeah, you guys can hear me?
Wherever that may be. Ready for anything.
Jay, thank you very much for having me.
Coming in May 7th. In theaters near you. Have you been cheated out of money? Also, do you feel you have wasted time and want that compensation for that lost time? Here at Carundrum & Son, we will help you get that settlement that you really deserve. Have you been scammed, lied to, or have been disinformed by this man? You may be eligible for up to $100,000. So call now. Do you feel violated? Were you probed unwillingly? We will do our best to get the justice you seek. At UPC, we'll make sure you get the settlement that's right for you and your family. From probing to organ removal, no cases will go unfinished. Call us at 1-800-836-7762. We're behind you 100%.
Why was I waking up under hypnosis? Why was I walking out the door of my house in the middle of the night, hundreds of times as a child, and I couldn't remember where I was going? And at the end of the thing, they just make me walk back to where I was, and then the memory is lost.
Worried about going green. Kids are turning green.
I find the title irrelevant.
Bad seed, I'm sorry. You tried your best.
They don't exist, David Wilcock. Back to his appearance.
That the Soviets might spook the public and somehow manipulate this issue. So they actually advocated in writing that this issue be debunked and discredited, and the government went ahead and did so extremely successfully, unfortunately.
Welcome to the coming apocalypse. I'm Pastor Paul Begley.
That just blew my mind.
It's huge. That is as big as Wilcock.
Rich that I don't know. Nice to meet you.
That he explained to me who those three competing extraterrestrial civilizations were: reptilian, ancient, and that the reptilians, from his point of view.
I'm Pastor Paul Begley. I hope you got a seatbelt. Hang on, because this is one of those kind of broadcasts.
UFO shenanigans and paranormal adventures. Right here is where we look and think outside the proverbial box.
Linda Moulton, howdy doody, fresh and fruity.
You got to double down. That's step 3. Double down, triple down.
Our community failed as well. But now what we're seeing is a rising up of the people, like what happened on Mika's planet. And we're going to see a lot more changes occur.
Are you serious? Do you have your coffee? You better get a strong cup because this one is evil.
Was that consumer fraud? Who knows?
Everything I have said has come true about this field. Not because I listened to somebody else, because I observed with my own 2 balls. Eyeballs.
Yeah.
And the answer is quite succinctly no. And how do we know that? Well, for several reasons. First of all, I had access to all those programs, and those type of programs, you don't typically test these type of secret aircraft in and around areas where you're doing active maneuvers. You tend to test them at secret test ranges like Area 51.
If ever there's someone who's really shifted the paradigm for so many, it is Lou.
Lou is a lying, cheating, stealing, not money-making, but will be a money-making dude soon.
Was chosen to be that man. Can you say amen?
Is the sheer magnitude of the infrastructure that has been built out underground and off planet with the help of various ET groups, many of which are highly benevolent and really do want our best interests in mind.
Are you serious?
It's ridiculous. And this is what he wants you to pay him money for.
Thank you for all the shows you go on, making yourself available.
You know, I'm done.
Like inside of a glass. Then he said to me in our first talk ever, I'll never forget this, because I'm talking to a fighter pilot and I got to talk fighter pilot. And I don't, you know. And he says to me, it noticed me. I go, what do you mean it noticed you?
Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 Corbell.
Well, I'm Pastor Paul Begley, and this is the coming apocalypse.
They don't exist!
What are they doing here? Why? Where are they from? What do they want?
It was a classic disc-shaped craft. Years later, there was a report.
In life. I mean, my goodness.
Are you serious?
Chopping, chee, chopping, chee, chopping, chee, chopping, chee, chopping, hey.
More than a little tired. Because you see, I don't know about you, but I am tired.
I've been recording and documenting everything that has happened to me for the last 10,000 years.
Are you serious?
What? What?
Too much belief in bullshit in ufology.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome back, old friends and new. First, to start, I want to thank William Carnundrum, who is now part of the Truth Seekers' new slave labor force, just until I pay him. Relax. I'm not a hypocrite. Who has compiled this fun UFO's Got Talent piece. I simply compiled all of the stuff that he posted on Twitter, put it all together, and he was all for me doing that. So we want to thank William Carnundrum, new Truth Seekers slave labor force member, who will be providing videos for our show as a slave, and just until I pay him. So welcome to the show. Today is May 25th. I don't know if you're aware, but that means there's just 6 days until my birthday. So I'm in a pretty good mood this week. Kind of getting over recent drama, but I am the recent drama and some current events lately. Seeing the Lou Elizondo House of Cards begin to fall away made me realize that there are many repeating patterns in this alien and UFO world. And if you're here long enough, you begin to spot these patterns. So I thought that tonight we could talk about something that I call the UFO Messiah syndrome, which is a syndrome which is very popular in the UFO, in the world of UFOs and aliens, if you pay attention. And this UFO Messiah syndrome goes back decades, and it all began with the early contactee movement. Some of you may recognize names like George Adamski and Howard Menger, George Van Tassel, and others who in the 1950s and 60s claimed to be in direct contact with extraterrestrial aliens. And at that time, not much was known about our solar system. So interestingly, these people claimed that the aliens that they were in contact with came from places like Saturn and Venus, which we now know cannot house habitable life. There were other UFO messiahs telling fantastical alien stories as well, like Frank Stranges and his famous book, Strangers at the Pentagon. But there's something interesting. I thought we could begin with some of those early contactee people, because you will see a common thread between those early UFO messiahs and some of the later ones that we are now experiencing and getting to witness. You will find that there are many common traits for those afflicted with UFO Messiah syndrome. I have noticed this pattern, and that their modus operandi of all of these UFO Messiahs is very, very similar. And I think, I called this UFO Messiahs a cautionary tale, tonight's show, because I think it's important that we study history. Because if we study history, we will be able to spot the patterns when that history repeats itself, and inevitably history repeats itself. Since the very beginning of this thing with these early contactee movements, there have been UFO messiahs. People like George Adamski, Howard Menger, Frank Stranges claiming to be in direct contact with, extraterrestrial aliens. And they all have some very, very interesting things in common. I thought we could begin with George Van Tassel, who you may recognize as the inventor. I'm always a little suspect when they call him the inventor of the Integratron. And the Integratron is a mystical, magical building or device, a 4-story tall device that's supposed to be able to be used as an energy source, time machine, and more. But it's interesting to note that George Van Tassel formed an organization around this building he built out near in the desert in the middle of nowhere. So I'm going to share my screen so we can see some shots of that. Now, interestingly, this building was made out of wood, but then they claimed that they were going to use Tesla coils inside the building as sort of a power source or something like that. And that is a stupid idea because a building made of wood, and I gotta say, I've known people that have been there, visit it. You can visit this Integratron today. But the Integratron was built, according to George Van Tassel, under the direction and lesson plan coming from the aliens that he was in contact with. And it's near Giant Rock, which is another UFO hotspot and meeting place for the early contactee movement. People would go there and talk about aliens and UFOs, flying saucers, etc. But it's interesting to note that George Van Tassel formed an organization and he raised relentlessly for years and years and years, but still never managed to finish this Integratron device or show it working. Now, many of the early interviews with these early people from the contactee movement from the 50s and 60s, their interviews and information on them has largely been lost to history. But in the case of George Van Tassel, I was able to find an early interview of his that is extremely interesting. And we're going to put our fair use banner up. This is fair use. It's a transformative work. We're going to be playing a video that's from, I think it's from the late 1950s. But we're still going to cite fair use. Somebody may own that. This is a transformative work. We're educating the public and critiquing the video that we are sharing. This is certainly covered under fair use and allowable by law. I have lawyer letters standing by to defend our right to use videos under fair use for these purposes of education and criticism. Okay, so this is called KVOS Webster Reports, the Extraordinary Equation of George Van Tassel. Oh, and actually the original air date was June 18th, 1964. So we even know what date this one is from. There's few surviving on-camera interviews with some of these people, so I was happy to find this. And this will give us some insight into George Van Tassel. And again, he was one of the original UFO Messiahs. And started an entire group, some would call it a cult, centered around his teachings that supposedly came from extraterrestrials or aliens. So let's get into it, friends. This is rather long, so we're going to only share a portion.
Flying saucer.
Here we go.
Bed. So it's safe to talk about flying saucers and people from outer space, people who may be circulating among us now and who demonstrate their unearthly qualities if they choose you as one of their agents by disappearing and reappearing at will in your very presence, in front, if necessary, of many witnesses, and who land on this materialistic earth in flying saucers, to which you, if you're one of the chosen, shall enter through an anti-gravity elevator. Nothing to hold you up. You just whisk up into the body of the flying saucer, a scout ship from outer space. No way. I'm not really joking. Because I've got a man now, here and now, one of the men who claims fervently that he has met these people from outer space, has talked to them, and has been given secrets of things such as a time machine from men from outer space. You'll meet this man after this plebeian and earthly message. The man you're going to meet in a moment or two, Tassel, from Giant Rock, California, is a most unlikely person to claim to have seen flying saucers and been in touch with people from outer space. George is a very ordinary fellow.
Thanks, Walter. I
Doesn't make
agree.
any money
Shout out to Roger,
flying
Walter
saucer
from the
beliefs.
Walter
But boy,
Bosley
he really
channel.
believes them. Before I start talking to George, I want to tell you, too, that I do have a couple of doubts in my mind. We all see these newspaper reports from Socorro, New Mexico, that a mysterious craft landed and took off and left blast marks in the sand. Airline pilots from time to time talk delicately about strange aircraft circling their normal aircraft in flight, perhaps even cutting off the power of their engines momentarily. We all love to talk about the mysterious and the unknown and the flying saucers. So now it's to George Van Tassel and
Yes, he did, B. Baker.
time machine you're building down in California.
Well, Jack, this was the result of a formula which was given to me by a man who landed a ship at my airport in 1953. And we put this formula under research, tested a number of experiments on a bench in a good electronics lab in Chicago, and we produced phenomenal results with evidence that we should do it on a larger scale in order to be able to do more with it. And this evolved out of something that started in 1953 into a 4-story high machine that we're working on down there today.
It's interesting to note that George Van Tassel claimed that he had secret formulas from aliens that would enable things like anti-gravity, free energy, and time travel. However, he never released those formulas. They were secrets. And I find that extremely suspect. If you have these formulas from an advanced extraterrestrial that could literally save Earth, right? Free energy, anti-gravity, and time travel. Maybe it's dangerous to release the time travel one, but why not release those formulas so that all of mankind could benefit? No, the only person that benefited from George Van Tassel's so-called alien information was him, as he raised funds constantly through his organization, constantly grubbing for money to build this machine that never worked. To this day, it doesn't do anything. It's just an interesting building.
Now, George, I don't care whether the machine is 4 stories high or 40 stories high or 4 inches high. When I say calmly and unexcitedly, a time machine, what does your formula tell you you can do with a time machine?
Well, Jack, our formula has no time factor, which electronic formula does have. And on the other hand, electronic science has only had 2 dimensions to work with, the electric pattern and the magnetic pattern perpendicular to it. And we discovered a 3rd zone, which we call a time zone, and we are working through this zone with an effort to orient the magnetic field to give us other results than our science can obtain at present.
George, just double talk to me. A time machine means to me a little box that I can go into and go back 5,000 years or forward 10,000 years. Is that what your formula tells you you can do?
Well, Jack, this isn't a little box. This is a 4-story machine focusing fields that we can orient to produce this zone big enough for a man to get into. It isn't a box.
But what happens to the man when he gets into the zone?
Well,
I'm all agog with curiosity.
Jack, we've discovered this zone is subject to thought. Now, since time
It's
doesn't
June
record things,
1964,
the way we
Lord
do on
Ludicrous.
calendars and clocks, you could only record an event by thinking of it. Now, theoretically, we believe we can take a videotape magnetic camera into the time zone and photograph Lincoln's Gettysburg Address or Caesar's armies marching or anything that's ever happened.
And let me get this straight. In other words, you're telling me, like H.G. Wells imagined 50 years ago, that everything that happened in time is still there to be seen by the recreation electronically of a thought which exists.
Jack, you know how you talk into a tape on a tape recorder and play the interruptions back, identical to the play that you made. The Earth's magnetic field is the same way. You can put interruptions into it and play them back out of it. An associate of ours in creating a magnetic coupler with this principle, coupled in the Earth's magnetic field, and played back TV shows from stations that aren't even in business anymore.
You mean an experiment has been done to bring out of the air television programs which have been and gone?
Been and gone.
Now, where was this experiment conducted?
It was conducted in Santa Monica by an associate of mine.
Why hasn't this hit the headlines throughout the world? That's a time machine in action. If I can...
Jack, the reason it hasn't hit the world is because, as I understand it now, the Navy Department took him and the research over because he also discovered he could bounce magnetic echoes off the ionosphere and locate submarines under the ocean, regardless of where they were. So,
Yeah, does this sound familiar? Remember, this is from June of 1964, and here George Van Tassel, one of the original UFO Messiahs, is right now talking about the government coming in and repressing these exotic technologies. This is something we've all heard before in more modern times, and maybe those people are echoing previous people's talking points. I always find it interesting to see the similarities between these early UFO con artists, grifters, and the more modern ones. They use the same talking points, and that is very, very interesting to me.
Who is this associate of yours?
this is a fellow named Charlie Arts.
Charlie Arts?
Yeah.
And is he a free man walking around today?
Well, he's free where he is in this super secret research he's conducting.
Now,
Well, there you go. Somebody's conducting super secret research.
For you tell me soberly in front of this television camera that things, old television programs have been recreated out of nothing.
Played back with a picture and the sound just as good as the day they were broadcast. We've done this many times.
Why didn't you bring one up with you?
Well, this requires quite a piece of apparatus. This magnetic coupler works on around 50,000 volts, and
and here it comes the new age word salad garbage. High voltage, gravitational waves,
radio frequency.
Radio
Connected
frequencies.
with it, and actually the television set which plays back the picture doesn't even have an antenna connected to it.
George, you know as well as I do, and you've been on television 350 times, and I've known you. I met you once 7 years ago, and I kind of like you. But you know what the people out there are saying. They're saying this man's a nut.
Well, Jack, when Fulton was running his steamboat up the Hudson River, there were people still standing on the bank saying it couldn't be done.
All right, let me take you back, though. You have a time machine plan. You have done experiments which show you can bring the past to life. Where did this formula come from?
I love that Scotch accent. Jack, the formula came from a ship that landed at my airport in 1953 on August the 24th, which had 4 people aboard it that came from another planet.
I'm breathless.
Well, you're not only breathless, I was breathless.
Yeah, so again, aliens landed and gave this guy a secret formula so he could invent time travel, free energy, and anti-gravity all together.
But I'm cynical, too.
Well, that's fine. That's the way to be. In fact, I'm a bigger skeptic than you are of many things.
I'm an unbeliever. Convince me that this really happened to you.
Well, this thing is very similar to a thing that happened in our biblical records where a Lord presented Moses with a pattern to build a tabernacle. They came out of the sky, they handed him stone tablets, and this phenomena that's taking place today is as old as our history, as our civilization. This isn't anything new.
Super secret, yes.
Something that's being continued in another time of crisis.
Hey, Anthony's here from Unidentified S4.
This planet are reaching a point where somebody has to take care of the situation.
Now, I don't intend in any way to be disrespectful or blasphemous, but do you feel, and I know you're not an evangelistic type, do you feel that you're some kind of Moses receiving a new word?
Well, I don't say that, Jack. I say that what is occurring now has occurred before. There's many records of these ships landing throughout history, clear back into Sanskrit. And there are records in the 1898 Chicago newspapers that covered the front page for 3 days of a big ship setting over Chicago. When you realize we're dealing with a type of man that is almost as far above us in intelligence as we are above the lower animals. There isn't anything phenomenal in this at all.
Now, you say casually because this is your
Yeah, and again, the aliens are always super advanced, much more advanced than us.
life's work now. Ships. Now, you mean flying saucer, don't you?
Well, a flying saucer was a name the press put on this thing. And actually, what they termed a flying saucer was nothing but a scout ship from the big carriers.
But I want to go back to that night in 1953. Tell me, where did this happen for people who haven't heard you talk or seen you yet?
It happened on my airport, which I've operated for the last 16 years, at Giant Rock Airport, 17 miles north of Yucca Valley in California, or 40 miles north of Palm Springs.
Now, this is a private airport for small aircraft, is it?
This is an airport used both by the military and private aircraft.
You own this airport?
I lease this airport from the United States government. I've operated it for 16 years since I retired from the flight test business in the aviation.
Right.
Sorry, I always found it interesting that this guy just happened to have an airport for flying saucers to land at. You know, that always seemed a little suspect to me, but he did operate an airport. And there are reports that people would fly in to go to these UFO meetings. People who are interested in flying saucers would fly into his airport, and they would have events there centered around flying saucers and aliens.
How old are you now, by the way, John?
I'm 54, Jack. Got 3 grown daughters, married, and 11 grandchildren.
You don't mind if I ask you the stock question? I know that you've been asked every obnoxious question that can ever have been asked. You've never been treated for any form of emotional upset.
I've never had an emotional upset other than women.
Except that night in Yucca Flat. That's a giant rock. When this ship appeared. Now, give me the details, George, because I'm never tired of hearing the details of a man who says he has seen creatures from another world.
Well, actually, Jack, this was as simple as crossing a street and getting hit by a car. After it's over, you're the victim of the circumstance. And I didn't see the ship land. One of my son-in-laws, that wasn't my son-in-law at that time, saw it come down. Another man on the airport heard it, and he wasn't where he could see it. And the man got off of the ship and approached me before I even knew there was a ship down.
Where were you then? What time of day or night was it?
It was 2 o'clock in the morning and approximately a full moon, which is like daylight on the desert.
Were you walking about outside or what?
No, I was sound asleep when he awakened me.
This man awakened?
Well, something awakened me.
So you got up out of your bed?
I got out of my bed and went aboard the ship at his request.
This man, in what language did he converse with you?
He talked to me in the best English equivalent to Ronald Coleman.
And he met you there and he said, what did he say? Come with me to my ship or what?
No, he said, I asked him what he wanted because we have a lot of people come in stuck in the sand and broken axles and whatnot. And I asked him what he wanted, and he said, my name is Solganda, and I would be pleased to show you our craft.
Solganda?
Solganda.
Was the craft visible to you at this time?
It was. When he stated this, I saw beyond him the ship, which I hadn't seen before.
What did you see?
A bell-shaped type of anti-gravity ship that they operate as a scout ship out of their big carriers.
How big?
This was 36 feet in diameter and 19 feet high.
And where was it? On the ground?
No, it was hovering 10 feet off the ground.
And how did you go into this ship?
I walked with him to a spot underneath it, and an anti-gravity beam took me up through a hole in the bottom of it.
Oh, that's another thing that sounds a little bit familiar. A portal opens on the bottom of the ship, and you just get whisked right up to the ship. This may be the originator of many, many stories that feature that element. So we're going to stop this here. It's important to note that this gentleman never finished his so-called research project, but he collected tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars back then through various fundraising efforts and never showed any actual proof of his claims. Never. So he was one of the original UFO Messiahs. Pay me money and I will share with you the secrets that the aliens shared with me. Now, the next contestant on UFO Messiah is George Adamski, who was another one of the original contactees around that same time frame. And it's interesting, his photographs and especially his films are laughable by today's standards. Here's one of his photographs. And I tried to locate some of the films. They used to be on YouTube of the filmed flying saucer of Adamski. If anybody has those links, please email them to me at truthseekershow@gmail.com. Many things are getting increasingly harder to find on YouTube lately, especially this ancient stuff. So here we see photos of George Adamski claiming, he was in direct and constant contact, and he not only was in contact with flying saucers, but the motherships as well. George Adamski had made various claims throughout his so-called career, this is one of his books, Inside the Flying Saucers. Gives you all the incredible details of how they work and all these things. But of course, he could never reproduce any of their technology because it likely didn't exist. Interestingly, some of you may be aware that Solar Marshall and others have proven that this particular so-called flying saucer spaceship was a model that was made from the top of a Coleman oil lantern of the time. So if you look up, I can try to do it. I don't know if I'll be able to find the exact one, but it is a piece. That bell shape is a piece of a camping lantern, and it's interesting. Okay, here, yeah, I found it that fast. This is interesting. So we'll see if I can't share that. 1 second. I should do a side-by-side comparison of these. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit not prepared for this, but I don't find the research into these original hokey cases to be all that exciting. So, but here we see the top of one of these camping lanterns. This is one example. Of course, there's other examples of similar camping lanterns. So apparently, George Adamski made a model by taking the top of a camping lantern and adding some balls to the bottom of it. And of course, those were gravity emitters that later people like Bob Lazar would rip off that idea and say gravity amplifiers. Instead of gravity emitters, George Adamski's spaceships and flying saucers had gravity emitters in these balls on the bottom of the ship. And Bob Lazar would change that to gravity, some sort of gravity amplifiers. It's amazing to see the similarity of these stories, right? Amazing to see that it's like people are all drawing from the same well. So George Adamski, similar to Van Tassel, would collect tons and tons of money selling books, speaking at conferences, UFO conferences, mystery conferences, all of these things like we see today. And George Adamski apparently made a very good living. And he was a teller of tall tales, claiming that he was in contact with the Pope and the president and all of these people. He never proved anything. And in fact, George Adamski, several people came out against him, claiming that he asked them to pretend that they saw the aliens with him so that he would have corroborating witnesses. And Walter Bosley is here, says more like a camp lantern. Yeah, it was a camp lantern that he took the top off of. Several researchers have done side-by-side comparisons, and it is, maybe I didn't get the exact camping lantern, Walter Bosley. I'll have to message Solar Marshall. He's got a side-by-side comparison of those two. Member Frapsap is here and says, my grandfather was the chief physician in my hometown and used one like Adamski scout ship. Yeah, I think I have one at the cabin that I could make that out of. So Asman asking if I'm still buddies with another show host. I'm quick to anger, but quick to forgive. Whatever. I'm focused on doing good shows and good work here. I don't really care anymore about the drama. But I did say that I'm not going to be appearing on other shows anymore because that's where a lot of the drama comes from. Now, there's exceptions to that. I'm sure I can go on the Walter Bosley channel and not have too much drama, right? Or several other people. But I'm going to be focusing solely on the show here. So I have my list of UFO Messiahs, and we've been through 2 of them. Now, along with George Adamski, there is also, and I got to tell you that this one is one of my favorites, and I don't know why. I just like the guy, I suppose, and I've listened to him give explanations for his contact, and that would be Howard Menger, who died back in 2009, but he was an American contactee who claimed to have met extraterrestrials throughout the course of his life. He had meetings with them, which were the subject of books he wrote, such as From Outer Space to You and The High Bridge Incident. And again, Howard Menger claimed that he was in contact with extraterrestrial aliens. And much like Corey Goode or some of these other storytellers, he had no evidence whatsoever. Zero evidence, or let's just say almost no evidence. Here is some of his so-called evidence. A picture of a flying saucer with a shadow figure in front of it that he claimed was an alien. I don't know about you, but that's not very convincing to me. And many people who have studied both Adamski and Howard Menger, like myself, believe that Howard Menger sort of borrowed much of his story from Adamski. His story is incredibly similar. There's these beautiful angel-like extraterrestrials, right? And he met these beautiful angel extraterrestrials. Here's another one of his so-called proofs. The light being next to him is supposed to be an alien. But believe it or not, I do have his books, and I find them extremely entertaining. Not very convincing from a reality perspective. More like just a strange form of entertainment. And one of the things that's interesting about Howard Menger is that he was from not far away from where I live in New Jersey. And at one point, I did try to contact his relatives for interviews. And I believe that his son and daughter are still around and will entertain people that want to ask questions about their father and his books. Maybe we'll do that. I don't know. But Howard Menger was another one of the UFO Messiahs. And again, they all share common traits. They're in contact with extraterrestrials. They have secret alien knowledge. Howard Menger claimed to build a scale model of a flying saucer, which was test flown, and then the United States government got it. And then he went to work for the United States government, according to him. Of course, there is absolutely zero evidence or proof that Howard Menger ever worked for the United States government or ever had working anti-gravity technology. This, of course, is a problem with all of these UFO Messiahs, and we're going to talk about that in a little while. All UFO Messiahs have common traits, and one of the traits is they over-promise and under-deliver. Howard Menger claimed that he was in possession of the secrets of anti-gravity technology. If he indeed was, those secrets went to his grave. He never shared those secrets with anybody and could never display working technology, though he claimed, and it's almost laughable when you hear the story of how he made the flying saucer model that the government got a hold of. He claimed that he was ordering parts from like television repair places. And I believe that he, at one point, he made signs, including light up signs. So he did know something about electronics. But his explanation of how he built anti-gravity is just laughable. He was ordering vacuum tubes from RCA and this and that. Like, it's pretty wild and out there. And I find it almost, laughable. It's not at all credible. But again, Howard Menger, one of the original UFO Messiahs, and we're going to see some of these common traits that Howard Menger and others had. Frapsap with a kind and generous $10 says it was a surgical lamp, not a camping lantern, Stephen. Adamski used to hoax his UFOs. Yeah, we could get into that. Well, I'm going to find the exact thing he used. Solar Marshall had a really good side-by-side comparison. But thank you, Frapsap, for your kind and generous $10 super chat. We read all the super chats here. So if you're feeling generous, feel free to throw a couple bucks in our hat, and we will thank you profusely. And of course, we read every single super chat. And we want to thank Frapsap for helping us to praise the cash, friends.
This is Trixie from Truth Seekers, thanking you for your generosity. I'm gonna praise the cash so hard, I'm gonna teleport myself on board a sexy tic-tac UFO. Thank you for your generosity.
All right, so on with our presentation for tonight. So the next UFO Messiah on our list, and remember, all of these UFO Messiahs share common traits, and I have some slides actually for that. Next, we get to Billy Meyer, who we have covered here, and you may recall that we interviewed Michael Horn, his U.S. media representative, which is just funny. And in that interview, Michael Horn cites convicted child molester UFO researcher Wendell Stevens as proof that Billy Meyer got a laser gun from aliens. And we've all heard how that exchange went. Didn't go good for Michael Horn. Billy Meyer, again, one of the original UFO messiahs, 60s and 70s, claimed to be in contact with extraterrestrials that, and all of these people up till now, all the extraterrestrials they're in contact with, suspiciously, at least to me, look exactly like people, but better looking, like super hot blonde Nordic chicks. That's what the aliens were. And Billy Meyer has been thoroughly debunked. Here is one of his ridiculous photographs that he claims is a real flying saucer. This is called the wedding cake photo. We see another ship that looks suspiciously just like Bob Lazar's. We've covered this previously. Bob Lazar I believe he stole his so-called sport model directly from Billy Meyer. It is almost exact. Billy Meyer's beam ship, and here we see this. Here's Billy Meyer's beam ship. It looks almost identical to the flying saucers that Bob Lazar in the late 80s would claim to work on at Area 51. And also suspicious is that Bob Lazar and his friend Gene Huff got all of the Billy Meyer photographs and materials and VHS tapes and stuff from John Lear just a few months before he suddenly came out with a story about working on flying saucers at Area 51. Billy Meyer is a typical case, however, of a UFO messiah for several reasons. First, he claimed that he had top secret knowledge from the aliens on all kinds of things, on science, on medicine, on what's going to happen in our future. And Billy Meyer got crazier and crazier, started mixing Jesus in with this, and that's another trait of a UFO messiah. Eventually, they start mixing in religion and spirituality in with their alien fairy tales. Some of these photographs, it really looks incredibly hokey and stupid, if you ask me, but some of them look pretty good. I remember having a book with these pictures in it in my grade school library. And even then, I knew that those pictures were fake and not real. I believed that they were models when I was a child. Later, people like Phil Langdon and others would 100% recreate these models out of trash can lids and other stuff and hang them on strings. This one has always been great. Why would a flying saucer just jam itself right into a tree? Or is this a model and a miniature tree, as many debunkers believe it is? Phil Langdon reproduced this effect. And of course, it's just, all but gluing a flying saucer model to a miniature tree. Yeah. So Billy Meyer, another one of those UFO messiahs, who again would have the same things in common. There's some common traits to these UFO messiahs. They always need money. They form cults or groups. They viciously attack their critics and detractors and more. And we'll get into that. Now we get to more modern times. The next UFO messiah on my list is directly descendant, I believe, from Billy Meyer, because he stole some of his designs for the spaceship and materials, and that would be, so we go from the late 60s and late 70s to the late 80s, and we get to Bob Lazar, another UFO messiah who people believed. Remember, all of these UFO messiahs, the true believers believe that they're going to bring us the truth about those aliens. Bob Lazar was no different at the time. Hugely popular in the late 80s. Just a huge national story that this, quote, former government scientist worked on extraterrestrial spacecraft at Area 51, unquote. Except he was never a government scientist. In fact, Bob Lazar was a convicted pimp, fake scientist. And no matter what Jeremy Corbell and others and George Knapp that have profited from this fake story for years tell you, Bob Lazar was never a scientist. And in fact, we proved here on our channel that Bob Lazar was never a scientist at Los Alamos like he claimed. He was a low-level electronics technician. Here's a sketch of his so-called flying saucer that he worked on, and here we see it looks suspiciously like Billy Meyer's, and he got all those Billy Meyer photographs just a few months before he came out with his incredible story. I find that incredibly suspect. But I grew up with the story, always loved the story. If I could pick one UFO story to be true, it would probably be the Bob Lazar story. But Bob Lazar, again, one of those UFO messiahs, he's got secret information, and for a price, he will share it with you. Now, many people claim that he's never made any money. Bob Lazar has been trying to cash in on his story since the very, very beginning. Here we see his latest book deal from Tom DeLonge, I believe. And I'm told from several sources that that was a very large book deal. Large enough that he bought a brand new house and a big compound with all these outbuildings for his business as well, and moved from the state he was in to a new state with a big, huge new house right after the book. He also tried to cash in with a Hollywood movie deal, and that never panned out. People have been pushing Bob Lazar as a UFO messiah or somebody that would bring us the truth about aliens since 1989 when he came out with his story. The problem is that the Bob Lazar story falls apart under scrutiny. He's a fake scientist. He never was a scientist. He was just an electronics technician. He ran a whorehouse and got convicted of running a whorehouse. That makes him a convicted pimp. I don't find a convicted pimp who lied about being a scientist and lied about his education to be a credible source of information. But stupid people like Jeremy Corbell, thought this is a great story and I can profit from this. And, part of me thinks that Corbell and George Knapp and others know the story is fake, but they made so much money, or they have the potential to make so much money, that they don't care if it's fake. Part of me thinks even they know it's fake, but they still push this story. And George Knapp has been pushing this UFO story since 1989. He has made more money than anybody on the story, probably more than Bob Lazar. So that is yet another one of our UFO messiahs. And we'll see when we wrap up this that Bob Lazar, like all of these UFO messiahs, have many traits in common. Now, after Bob Lazar, we get to Dr. Stephen Greer, one of my favorite UFO hucksters. And Dr. Stephen Greer is the perhaps most ridiculous of the UFO messiahs. And he hits more of the UFO messiah common traits than anybody, because he hits all of the points that I make. I just put in Dr. Stephen Cambion for some reason. My autocomplete saw Stephen, and yeah. Let's get Dr. Stephen Greer. That's better. So Stephen Greer, UFO researcher for many, many years, got famous in 2001 for holding mock UFO hearings. And a lot of people credit him with all kinds of credit, like, well, the Disclosure Project. He did so many good things. No, I beg to differ, because Dr. Stephen Greer basically rented the National Press Club and brought all of his UFO buddies to talk to two, or was it three, former senators or congressmen that were paid to sit there and listen to these people. It wasn't a real UFO hearing with real, well, they were real former senators and former congresspeople, but they were paid. It was all a circus. It was one big show. And Dr. Stephen Greer, of course, shares many traits with the UFO Messiahs. He's going to bring us disclosure and the truth about those aliens. He overpromises, he underdelivers, he tells tall tales. He has little or no verifiable good evidence. It is mostly him telling fairy tales. In this recent documentary made by Third Phase of Moon, he actually claimed that he and Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top went on a secret mission to an underground base where they had alien medical technology that could regrow limbs and more. Another of his tall tales is that Dr. Stephen Greer loves to name drop. In the documentary previous to this last one, he claimed that he briefed Donald Trump about UFOs and aliens, and he briefed Mike Pence, Vice President Pence, about UFOs and aliens. And I just think that Dr. Stephen Greer is awfully arrogant to think that nobody could fact check that, because I happen to get to media representatives from both Donald Trump's office and a representative of Mike Pence, and both of them said that never happened. Mike Pence's office and Donald Trump's office said they never requested a briefing from him. They never got a briefing from him. They never asked for a briefing from him. They don't even know who he is. So Dr. Stephen Greer has lost, I believe in 2001, many people thought that he was a credible researcher and he was really looking for the truth about aliens. But as time goes on, he suffered from UFO disease, which is common with these guys. They come out with their original story. Next thing you know, you need new material to sell to stupid people. So suddenly he's doing CE5 and he's meditating and aliens are coming to visit him and spaceships can come and visit him. I believe, however, that Dr. Stephen Greer is the most financially successful of all UFO con artists or UFO messiahs. He has made literally millions and millions of dollars telling these UFO fairy tales with little or no evidence or proof. And as far as the Disclosure Project and those mock hearings, we need to remember that he had many wackadoo people included in that project, like Clifford Stone, who claimed that he was part of an alien crash retrieval program. And then later, Clifford Stone claimed he had superpowers and that he was Julius Caesar in a previous life, and I think Jesus, and that he developed telekinetic or psychokinetic superpowers and telepathy from talking to the aliens, and that he saved an alien. He led an alien out of a base that was held captive. It just gets wilder and wilder with that guy. And that's just one example of the wackadoo nonsense people that Stephen Greer put there in that hearing to tell people the truth about aliens. Was it the truth about aliens? I don't think so. Not credible. Stephen Greer has lost more and more credibility. I famously said this guy is such a slimeball that he literally used a dead baby to scam people out of millions of dollars for one documentary. And it's interesting, for that documentary with the Atacama humanoid, which was, again, a deformed fetus, he was getting the creature. Let's just call it a creature for now. He was getting this creature analyzed and genetic testing done by Dr. Gary Nolan. He could have waited a few months and gotten all the test results and then made a documentary, but he didn't do that because I believe he knew that those test results would just come back deformed human. After all, he's a medical doctor. He should know a deformed human fetus when he sees one. But that's not what he did. He hyped this deformed human fetus up as alien for a year. And then he rushed the documentary to release before the DNA results came back. And why would he do that? Why would you rush a documentary into release before you got the scientific test results of what that thing was? I believe that was intentional. And Dr. Stephen Greer made millions of dollars off of that fake alien, which was actually a deformed human fetus. And for somebody to use a dead baby to scam people out of millions of dollars tells you everything you need to know about their ethics, their morality, or their lack of ethics or morality. But Dr. Stephen Greer, like many UFO messiahs, he's mixed religion and meditation and philosophy in with his fake alien stories. He is constantly fundraising. He always needs money. That's another common trait of these UFO messiahs. They're constantly fundraising. They constantly need money. And by the way, I thought it was incredibly funny that in this last documentary, they talk a lot about repressed free energy technology and how people are suppressing that alien free energy technology. This man ran a free energy scam for years. To the best of my recollection, he raised $500,000 with his so-called free energy charity. Where did all that money go? Who knows? It didn't create a free energy device. And he's in a documentary talking about free energy devices and how the government is suppressing them. I guess the government suppressed his after he took $500,000 to create a free energy device and open source it and delivered nothing. He delivered nothing. What happened to that $500,000 he raised? That's a question that maybe the Cousins brothers from Third Phase of Moon should have asked him while he was flapping his lips talking shit about free energy in the documentary they made. Shouldn't they have stopped him and said, hey, speaking of free energy, you raised $500,000 to create a free energy device. What'd you do with all that money, Dr. Stephen Greer? But they didn't do that because they're lazy slobs and they don't care about the truth. They just care about making money from garbage people and garbage peddlers like Dr. Stephen Greer. And by the way, I will repeat what I said. The Cousin brothers from Third Phase of Moon owe me $13 because I paid $13 for a documentary filled with tall tales and bullshit from Dr. Stephen Greer. The other tall tale bullshittery was that he claimed that an entire engineering firm in the state of Michigan got murdered except for one employee because they were developing free energy technology. And we've heard this exchange with the Cousins brothers. Their excuse was, well, it wasn't like an office mass shooting. And I would say to them, then fine. Why in your documentary did you not ask Dr. Stephen Greer what was the name of the company where everybody got murdered and then show the evidence of that? Do you know why they didn't ask Dr. Stephen Greer what was the name of the company where everybody got murdered for developing free energy so we could research it and show everybody the evidence? Do you know why they didn't do that? Because that's bullshit. There is no evidence that an entire engineering company got murdered in Michigan. And the Cousins brothers' stupid excuses, well, it's not like it was a mass murder. Who cares? Even if these people got murdered all one by one, there'd be records of it. There would be news stories. It would be a huge story if an entire engineering firm in the state of Michigan got murdered, except for one guy. You got to leave one guy to live to tell the tale. Also included in his latest documentary of garbage is the story that an operative working for the Clintons came and stole all his VHS tapes of people talking about UFOs, buried them in his backyard. And then years later, that guy felt bad and called him up and said, I'm getting older. Do you want your VHS UFO collection back? So ridiculous. Why not? Okay, tell us the name of that Clinton operative so that we could speak to him and ask if he really stole your UFO VHS tapes, Dr. Stephen Greer. Did the Cousins brothers ask that? Of course not. Because why ruin a good bullshit story with things like facts and evidence? I want to thank Al Warrior. with a kind and generous $13. Well, thank you, but you don't owe me the $13. The Cousins brothers do. But I do thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. It is much, much appreciated. Continuing supporter of the show, Al Warrior. Thank you for helping us to praise the cash, Al Warrior.
This is Trixie from Truth Seekers, thanking you for your generosity. I'm gonna praise the cash so hard, I'm gonna end up opening up a stargate to a whole different dimension of wealth.
Okay. Lord Ludicrous with the kind and generous $4.99 super chat says, you turned Messiah into a 3-part series. Hope you do one on the researchers and the people in the know. Great show. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. Much, much appreciated. Long-time show supporter. Thanks for helping us to praise the cash. Thank you, Trixie.
This is Trixie from Truth Seekers, thanking you for your generosity. I'm gonna praise the cash so hard, I'm gonna need a fake med bed to bring me back to
I need a fake med bed too. I can make some money, right? So we are on our journey through time and through the UFO Messiahs. After Stephen Greer, I wanted to include these two, and that would be David Wilcock. We'll start with him. David Wilcock is a New Age nutter who makes many ridiculous claims, like he's Edgar Cayce reincarnated, like he has the gift of prophecy, yet he has literally predicted hundreds and hundreds of things that didn't happen. He was incredibly wrong on 2012. He told us all we'd get light bodies and superpowers, both as the year 2000 turned and as 2012, the Mayan calendar deadline approached. He was pushing that we would all get light bodies and superpowers, telepathy, telekinesis. We'd all become ascended masters and sit around a campfire and sing Kumbaya, and there'd be peace on earth. All of his bullshittery, none of it is real. Since 1998, he's been telling people that there's this, secret organization called the Alliance, and they're going to stop all of the satanic pedophiles and all the bad people in the world. There's going to be mass arrests and tribunals. None of that shit ever happens. He was also a big proponent of the 17th letter of the alphabet nonsense. So that'll show you how stupid David Wilcock is. But David Wilcock is another one of those guys that has made an incredible amount of money. I saw an estimate that he makes at least $150,000 a year just from his YouTube channel. God bless him for making the money, but he's peddling garbage. He has peddled garbage since the very beginning. Most notably, he is known for being on the television show Ancient Aliens, which is based on flawed garbage theories of Zachariah Sitchin and Eric von Däniken. But if you actually look into either of those two, you will find that neither of them are credible. Neither of them could be considered reliable sources of information. But David Wilcock is constantly selling courses. Oh, look at that. His shady China. Look at this. I'm finding my own thumbnails when I search David Wilcock now. That must mean that we're doing good work, right? Look at this. David Wilcock, his shady charity finances revealed. And we mentioned the common traits of a UFO Messiah. They all create organizations to fundraise with. And David Wilcock is no different. He created a fake charity. Look at this. David Wilcock, Free Energy and Hover Cars, Part 3. Yeah, we did 3 parts on that one, right? It's crazy that when you search David Wilcock now, you get all of my thumbnails. David Wilcock, the hover car scam just got worse. So David Wilcock, another common trait of the UFO Messiahs is that they're always running, let's just say, questionable offerings and telling people that they're doing amazing things. There's another common trait of a UFO Messiah is that they overpromise and underdeliver. 8 or 9 months ago, David Wilcock said that within a year, he would have his company would have a working hover car prototype. The only problem with that is that his company, Stravati Aerospace, is a joke. They're supposed to be an aerospace company that for years have been taking investments from people and have never produced a single product or airplane. If you have an aerospace company and you haven't built an airplane, then you are a failure. But David Wilcock claims that he's going to have a working hover car prototype in the next couple of months now. I call bullshit on that. In his most recent live stream, David Wilcock claimed that he is in contact with the Archangel Michael. And again, this is another common trait of the UFO Messiah fraudsters. They mix in religion and spirituality. They mix that with aliens. And David Wilcock is no different, because now, after years of saying that he had psychic powers, that he could channel the Egyptian god Ra, now he's brought Christianity into his grift and his con games, and is saying that he's in contact with the Archangel Michael, who told him that he has to take not showers but baths and piss in his own bathtub and lay in his own piss. And if he does that, he's going to get telekinetic superpowers. Sorry, I call bullshit. I don't think you can get superpowers by laying in a bath of your own piss. But this is how ridiculous this man has gotten. Things are really downhill for David Wilcock lately. And if anybody who is actually friendly or a friend to him is within the sound of my voice, please reach out to him and encourage him to get psychological counseling. He mentioned he was in therapy, but I don't think he's with the right therapist who is encouraging his delusions right now. And now David Wilcock is saying that he's got all these repressed memories, and now he's remembering suddenly, just as he needs new material, that he was himself a member of the secret space program. Sure you were. David Wilcock shares many common traits, like he is extremely narcissistic. He constantly requires spotlight and praise and adulation. He's got a huge ego. He claims he has a 180 IQ, which would make him smarter than, I don't know, Stephen Hawking and Neil deGrasse Tyson and Mickey Okaku and Einstein. I call bullshit on his 180 IQ. It's just a ridiculous, one of his many, many ridiculous claims. In his most recent, thank you, David Bucky, for a kind and generous $2 super chat. In his most recent, in his most recent course that he was selling, that's another thing. There's all kinds of scammy stuff he does. He had a scammy charity that collected something like $150 or was it $170,000 over 3 years and did zero charitable work. They gave just a few $1,000s to some other charity. The rest of the charity's money David Wilcock spent on himself. In 1 year alone, he spent over $4,000 on meals and entertainment for himself from charitable donations. So if you donated to David Wilcock's charity, congratulations, you helped him buy $4,000 worth of expensive meals at expensive restaurants because you're stupid. Why would you donate to somebody like David Wilcock, who has a track record of lying to everyone? But people did, and David Wilcock, that's just one example. He bought all kinds of software and equipment, and how is it legal that he is using equipment and video equipment and microphones and all these things that he purchased with charity money he is using for-profit monetized projects like selling courses about anti-gravity and free energy? Oh, that's another whopper. His hover car is supposed to have a free energy device as in the engine, so you will never need fuel for it. Bullshit. Bullshit. In the history of free energy scams, nobody who promised a free energy device ever actually produced one. And I don't think that David Wilcock will be any different. But thank you, David Bucky, longtime show supporter, been here for many, many years. I remember you from way back, David Bucky. Thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. We'll get Trixie to thank you for your kindness. Praise the cash, David Bucky.
This is Trixie from Truth Seekers, thanking you for your generosity. I'm gonna praise the cash so hard, you are gonna need a cease and desist letter from your fake lawyer to make me stop.
Thank you, David Bucky, for your kindness. I really appreciate it. I appreciate everybody throwing a couple bucks in my hat, but it always makes me smile when it's somebody that has been here for a long, long time and is continuing to support the show. So thanks, David Bucky. And I wanted to mention for all of you people, that have become members. You could you could become a channel member. You can become a member of our channel here. You get a badge, you get priority reply and priority in the live chat. In other words, if you're a member, we put those up first before everybody else. And also, you now get all the Patreon benefits going forward. So there's a members section where I can post. If I post something on Patreon, I'm posting it in the members section as well. I appreciate all you people becoming members. We're going to do shout outs for members. I keep saying we're going to do it. I'll start that on the very next show. At the beginning of the show, we'll shout out every member here and thank them for becoming a member. I'm trying to figure out how to do that with Patreon people, but unfortunately with Patreon people, I'm getting all of your real names. So I don't know that people want me shouting out their real names. Frapsap member became a member. Thank you, Frapsap, for becoming a member. He's talking to Glitch Loop there. And I want to encourage you, too, to check out our Discord server. One of the mods can post a link to our Discord server. You can not just chat with all the cool people that come here while we're doing live broadcasts. You can chat with them 24/7. And I'm in the Discord server every single day. I answer questions. We do sort of after show conversations there. I'm going to start doing a Discord voice chat soon for all you people. So sign up for the Discord. It's a great thing. Now, our next contestant on UFO Messiah is brought to us by David Wilcock, and that would be Corey Good. Corey Good hits all of my qualifiers for a UFO Messiah. Corey Good came out with ridiculous stories, basically claiming that he was like Buck Rogers, that he time traveled and he met aliens and he saved Earth from evil reptilian overlords. And again, we saw these common traits of a UFO Messiah. He has mixed religion and spirituality in with aliens. And again, he forms organizations to fundraise. He has a Light Warrior legal fund, which he uses to sue his critics. So he calls it the Light Warrior Legal Defense Fund, but it's really the give me some money so I could sue my critics into shutting up organization. Again, we mentioned one trait of a UFO Messiah is to constantly be fundraising, to form organizations to fundraise with. Another common trait is of these UFO Messiahs is that they're constantly saying that they're under threat or attack because their information is so important and so valuable. Corey Good does that. Corey Good is also, he checks the box for being an extreme narcissist and having a lack of empathy of his victims, even though this man claims that he's an intuitive empath. And that's why he was selected for the secret space program. I have often called Corey Good the garbage man of ufology because he has the worst, absolute worst garbage information. Nothing that he talks about is real. And for 6 or 7 years now, I believe, Corey Good has not had a real job. He sells courses. Now he's selling a comic book featuring him, saving Earth. He is the most ridiculous of the cosmic con men, I call them, or UFO Messiahs. But just like the rest of the UFO Messiahs, he checks all the boxes. Corey Good claims to be in contact with extraterrestrial aliens that are super advanced and are sharing secrets with him. Corey Good claims that he has superpowers. That's another common trait of UFO Messiahs. Eventually, they start telling people about their superpowers. David Wilcock has done that too. So another of our, in the long line of UFO Messiahs, and remember, all the UFO Messiahs are going to bring us the truth about aliens. That's why they're the UFO Messiah. They're finally going to be the one to bring us the truth about those aliens, to bring us disclosure. Corey Good promised us disclosure, and so far all he has disclosed is his wild and crazy Buck Rogers science fiction fantasy stories with zero evidence. He has not a shred of any evidence. Yes, Kate Schneider is here. I call her Mrs. Dark Journalist. That's Dark Journalist's girlfriend, Kate Schneider is. And she says, Corey Good is Corey Good's making effigies of Cambion and dark journalists and the like and burning them in a ritual. Wouldn't surprise me. Many people have said that guy's into black magic, but I'm not really too concerned. Yeah, I'm sure that he sure hates. And another common trait of the UFO Messiah is they viciously and maliciously attack their critics and detractors. And we've all seen this story of Corey Good's. He had a group of cult members in a secret Facebook group, and they were attacking people like Dark Journalist and C.W. Channer and Joe from the Carolinas and Richard Dolan or anybody who questioned his bullshit stories. Now he is suing everyone. And David Bucky says, let's not forget Corey's copyright gate. Yes, Corey Good also, that's another common trait of a UFO Messiah. They have a bloated sense of self-importance. And Corey Good thought he was so important that only he could say words like secret space program or 20 and back. And he tried to trademark or copyright those terms and then sue people who used the term SSP or secret space program. Eventually, I think he backed off because that did not go over well with the UFO community, him trying to own words and terms that existed before he came out with his story, right? So on our journey now, we've got just a few of these left, and we're going to wrap it up. The next UFO Messiah in this long line of UFO Messiahs through history is, of course, Tom DeLonge of Blink-182 fame, who came out with an organization filled with over 100 years of CIA experience across the board members of TTSA. He shares common traits with many UFO Messiahs, a bloated sense of self-importance. Tom DeLonge claimed that he was so important to this UFO thing that all kinds of government insiders started contacting him and helping him to get to the truth about UFOs. I think he claimed to have meetings like in Washington, D.C. at the Pentagon or something with some of these important people, and sat in a skiff, which is a secret location that radio waves and things like that and sound cannot travel in or out of, so that you could talk about top secret things privately. He's told many fantastical stories and seems to be a gullible, useful idiot. I believe Tom DeLonge was used as a figurehead by this CIA psyop with Lou Elizondo, but his appearance on Joe Rogan went tragically because he started pulling up fake videos and Joe Rogan wasn't falling for it. Tom DeLonge checks all of the boxes. Remember, a UFO Messiah forms organizations to fundraise with. Tom DeLonge formed TTSA, raised over $2 million, and none of the investors got any money back. He spent all the money, him and his friends, and Lou Elizondo and Christopher Mellon and Hal Putoff. All these guys made money through TTSA. All the investors got screwed royally. Tom DeLonge is another in a long line of UFO Messiahs. He checks a lot of the boxes. I don't believe that he checks the I'm in contact with aliens boxes, but he does claim that he's in possession of secret information. And for a price, he'll share it with you. And that's another thing. All these guys claim to have secret information, and they'll share it with you if you give them some money. That's another common trait of the UFO Messiah. Now, we're coming to a head here. The latest UFO Messiah, who is extremely still popular right now, even though I call him Lying Lou, is, of course, Lou Elizondo. Lou Elizondo checks many of the boxes, including claiming to have superpowers, because Lou Elizondo claims that he has superpowers, at least in a book by Lukatsky, the person that actually ran the program he pretended to run. Lou Elizondo pretended to run. So Lou Elizondo claimed to be a former, here's another common trait of UFO Messiahs. They all embellish or misrepresent their background and importance in this thing. Lou Elizondo claimed that he ran a top secret Pentagon UFO program for over 10 years. But it turns out that the program that he claimed that he ran was never really a program. In fact, it doesn't exist. ATIP, the program he claimed to run, does not exist. He misled the New York Times. He misled Brian Bender from Politico. He claimed that his His program that he ran had $20 million in funding. No, it didn't. It had 0 in funding. He made that up. Or he tried to conflate the program OSAP that did have the $20 million in funding to some other program, which was basically a nickname. And the OSAP program was investigating things like werewolves and vampires and ghosts and ghouls. And it wasn't, and nobody can prove to me that the OSAP program was about UFOs. They may have also studied UFOs, but it was about a whole bunch of wackadoo nonsense. In fact, there is 0 supportive evidence that any of Lou Elizondo's claims of actually investigating UFOs for the United States government are true. I believe that Lou Elizondo saw people like Nick Pope, who is another person that claimed that he investigated UFOs for the British government but never did. I believe that he saw people like that making tremendous money, being on television all the time, and he thought, I can do this too. These UFO people are stupid. And hey, since 2017, it's worked. But Lou Elizondo's house of cards is falling. And there are more. I can't say too much. I got to be careful with how I say this. There are new revelations about Lou Elizondo that are going to be coming to light in the next 30 days, which I believe will be, and this is a figure of speech, the nail in his coffin. There are new revelations coming to light, and we will see those, I believe, in the next 30 days. Lou Elizondo claimed all kinds of things, including apparently having superpowers. He remote viewed things in the Gulf War and saved his battalion or something. Lou Elizondo checks many, many of the boxes of a UFO Messiah. He always needs money, right? So he got money from TTSA. He's getting money from a book deal. He got money from a TV show deal, but he always needs more money. Let's see. He's also extremely narcissistic and thin-skinned. So thin-skinned, in fact, that he ran a bunch of Twitter sock puppet accounts so he could argue with people criticizing him on Twitter. A former intelligence officer doing that is just laughably funny to me. How thin must this guy's skin be that he can't have people critique him on Twitter? His last podcast appearance, he made the podcast host turn off the comments and the live chat, or he would not appear. Because apparently this big bad former military guy, an intelligence officer, can't handle internet critics. So Lou Elizondo's house of cards is falling, but he checks many of the boxes, and we're going to get to that next. Let me see if we can get to my inbox here. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to share my screen now. And we're going to talk about, in general, there are patterns that I have noticed about these UFO Messiahs. There are patterns to these UFO Messiahs, common traits. And the longer you study this thing and the phenomenon and the characters involved in it, the more you start to notice trends. And you start to notice that many of them do the same things. They have the same modus operandi. And you start to notice that they have many, many things in common. All of these UFO Messiahs have many, many things in common. And we're going to get into that. So this is my, pardon my lack of actual slides, but this will do for now. So the UFO Messiahs, they all have common traits. Number one, all have some secret knowledge to share, usually for a price. Number two, they are special and selected to bring us disclosure and the truth. Number three, all or many of them claim that they have had contact with aliens or did have contact. Number four, all or many have a bloated sense of self-importance. And I believe that if you think about some of these characters, you will agree with many of these traits they all have in common. Number five, all or many of the UFO Messiahs show signs of a twisted form of savior complex. Now, this one I should explain, because in psychology, somebody who has a savior complex is always trying to help people, even at the detriment of themselves. So I said, no, that's not accurate. They have a twisted form of savior complex, meaning they think they're some kind of savior and they're going to bring Earth the truth about aliens and they're going to bring us the alien technology and with that alien technology, we can clean up Earth. We can end war. We can all have peace on Earth. We can end world hunger. That's what I mean by a twisted form of savior complex. They believe themselves to be some form of savior through the aliens that are going to save Earth. We've seen this with Corey Goode. We've seen this with David Wilcock. We've seen this with many, many of these people. Billy Meyer, for sure. All of them, many of them, have this savior complex. But why I called it a twisted form is because in the normal psychological sense, a savior complex means that somebody is always trying to save people, even at the detriment of themselves. In other words, they make sacrifices to try to help, needy people or people in trouble to the point of, damaging their own lives. That's not what I mean here. I mean, they consider themselves a savior, and they have a twisted form of this savior complex because they use and manipulate people to complete their so-called mission, right? So all or many show signs of a twisted form of savior complex. Number 6, all or many show signs of being a sociopath and a lack of empathy. Many, many of these people take advantage of people. They're constantly, essentially stealing money from people for fake information, false information, half-truths, embellished stories with no evidence or proof. I believe that if you look at many of these people, you will agree that all or many of these UFO messiahs show signs of being a sociopath and having a lack of empathy. They don't care about their victims. They're important. They have huge egos as well. Number 7, all or many use accepted mythology and build on that foundation. We have seen how Bob Lazar basically took the same exact flying saucer spaceship from Billy Meyer and built on that and changed the story around. Or many of them build on what I call accepted mythology. Some of the accepted mythology in this world of UFO and aliens is that there's crash retrievals and that we have alien bodies and we have alien technology and we're trying to back engineer their spacecraft technology. So all or many of these UFO messiahs use those accepted mythologies, and then they build their story on the foundation of these accepted mythologies. We've heard Lou Elizondo do it. We've heard Tom DeLonge do it. We've heard Corey Goode, David Wilcock, Stephen Greer, Billy Meyer, all have used this accepted mythology and built on that foundation with their own stories, adding to that accepted foundation. Number 8, all or many of these UFO messiahs are manipulative and use people. We have seen how Lou Elizondo manipulated the reporters at the New York Times, manipulated Brian Bender of Politico. To what end? To complete his mission, which was to get famous and make money from UFOs, I believe. We've seen Corey Goode and David Wilcock manipulate and use people constantly. We've seen Tom DeLonge manipulate investors and use people to make money. I believe that many of these UFO messiahs, you will agree with me, share this number 8 trait. All or many of them are manipulative and use people. Number 9, all or many form organizations to fundraise and gain followers. This is very, very important. And here we can see Tom DeLonge created TTSA, an organization to fundraise. We've got Billy Meyer created a 501c3 charity in his home country of Sweden that's designed to, number 1, help him not pay taxes, and number 2, fundraise. We've got David Wilcock created his own charity so that he could fundraise and not have to pay taxes. We've got Corey Goode creating his Light Warrior Legal Fund so that he could fundraise, collect money, and not have to pay for his own lawyers. We've got Lou Elizondo is involved in these organizations which are fundraising, including the one with Avi Loeb now, and a few other organizations I believe that he is starting or a part of. I'm trying to think of the rest of them. Some of the early contactees had their own organizations, like Van Tassel. He created an organization to fundraise that was supposed to be a charity. They spent all the money. Nobody knows where any of the money went. They never completed the project. So I believe that if you listen and look at many of these UFO messiahs, number 9, all or many form organizations to fundraise and gain followers. Number 10, All or many of them overpromise and undeliver. And we have seen this time and time again. This Van Tassel back in 1964 is telling people he's building a time machine. Just send me some money so I can get the parts to build the time machine. Never completed the time machine. He overpromised and underdelivered. David Wilcock's promising everybody free energy and a hover car that you don't even need to put fuel in that can also power your house. That is overpromising and underdelivering. David Wilcock has also promised people that they would get superpowers in the year 2012. Just buy my course and you'll know how to get the superpowers. Now he's telling people that you got to take a bath in your own piss to get the superpowers. But the point is, these people overpromise and underdeliver. Corey Good, he has told people all kinds of stuff. He talked about ascension and the aliens are coming and all this stuff. Never see anything from him. I believe that Tom DeLonge overpromised and underdelivered. He stood on a stage and said they were going to build a spaceship with a revolutionary power source which would change the world. Overpromised and he underdelivered. So if we look at these people, of course, Billy Meyer claimed all kinds of prophecies and, he knows the future. He overpromised, underdelivered. Guy claimed he had a laser gun. What did he do with it? He shot a tree with it. They all overpromise and underdeliver. They have to overpromise to get the followers, but then they're unable to deliver on their fantastical promises. So I believe, number 10, if you think about all of these UFO messiahs, I think that's a very important point. All or many overpromise and underdeliver. Number 11, all or many claim to have some form of supernatural powers. We've got Lou Elizondo claiming that he can remote view, right? He saved his platoon. I don't know that Tom DeLonge has claimed any superpowers, but Corey Good certainly claimed to have superpowers. He's claiming that he's an intuitive empath, some sort of psychic. David Wilcock has claimed to have the gift of prophecy, telepathy. Now he's claiming that he got the power of telekinesis from the Archangel Michael, who told him to lay in a bathtub full of his own piss. That's superpowers. And we can see some of these other people who I haven't mentioned. One notably comes to mind, a female who claims that she can open stargates and all kinds. They all claim, and if they don't claim it at the beginning of their career, eventually they get the superpowers because I guess they run out of things to talk about. And now suddenly I've got psychic or superpowers. I believe that Billy Meyer claimed to have telepathic communication between him and the aliens and some abilities like healing abilities or some nonsense. I'm not sure about Howard Menger claimed that he could telepathically communicate and that he was given the supernatural ability to play the piano instantly by an alien. I would consider that a supernatural power. If you never played the piano and the aliens just went boop, now you can. And Howard Menger suddenly could play the piano. I would think that's some form of supernatural powers, along with the telepathic communication he claimed to have. So again, number 11, if you think about all of these characters, all or many of them claim to have some form of supernatural powers. Number 12, and this is the most important thing that you, my friends, need to know about all of these UFO messiahs. And remember, the line of UFO messiahs is not done with Lou Elizondo. There will be more in the future. But if you think of this list and reference this list when we see a new UFO messiah pop up in the UFO community, we'll be able to recognize them. Because number 12 never fails. All of them do it. See, I didn't say all or many for number 12. I said all. Number 12, all are very greedy, always need money, and always asking for more. Friends, Corey Good made something like $750,000 from selling one course that he didn't even write. People thought they were buying a course by Corey Good. No, they were buying a course that one of his friends wrote for him, and he kept all the money. They're extremely greedy. They always need money. They're always asking for more money. And we have seen this time and time again. We can display with Billy Meyer. He runs fundraisers constantly. For what? To talk to the aliens, I guess. Bob Lazar, very greedy, trying to get Hollywood movies, selling VHS tapes to vulnerable children like me. I bought his VHS tape. By the way, he owes me $29.95 plus shipping because that was some bullshit. Bob Lazar's out there looking for book deals, always needs money. Bob Lazar got paid something like $25,000 to speak at one UFO conference. But these people are usually always asking for more. David Wilcock is constantly begging for money. Buy my course, buy my book. Oh, I'm having money problems because I gave all my money to a scammy aerospace company to help me build a hover car. Corey Good is very greedy, always needs money, and always asking for more. I believe that Tom DeLonge and Lou Elizondo fall into that category. After all, they, through TTSA, raised a few $1 million. That wasn't enough. They couldn't complete anything with that couple $1 million. They needed more money. And Tom DeLonge is right now running a third round of investment, trying to scam people to invest in TTSA still to this day, even after he screwed the first two round of investors out of every penny that they invested. Again, number 12, all are very greedy, always need money, and always asking for more. Now, the final part of our presentation tonight on the UFO Messiahs, their modus operandi. How do they operate? Number 1, the UFO Messiahs make fantastical claims with sketchy or no evidence. We've seen it with Elizondo. We've seen it with Tom DeLonge. We've seen it with Billy Meyer. We've seen it with Bob Lazar. Most of the time, we've seen it with Corey Good. We've seen it with Stephen Greer. Oh, and by the way, talk about greedy. Stephen Greer is the worst of these guys. He is constantly crowdfunding. Oh, I got to make a documentary. I need $500,000. And he gets it. That's the crazy part. But number 1, how to operate as a UFO Messiah. You make fantastical claims with sketchy or no evidence. That's the first step. Number 2, they form groups with cult-like dynamics. What do I mean by cult-like dynamics? Cult-like dynamics, I mean group dynamics, like don't talk to those people. All of these UFO Messiahs have done things. We've just seen Elizondo got caught telling some show hosts, don't associate with these other show hosts. Those people are bad news. Don't associate with them. That's a cult-like tactic. Don't speak to anybody who may not agree with our cult narrative. That's what I mean by cult-like dynamics. Corey Good did this, attacking his critics, sicking his cult followers to go argue with people on the internet that said his Buck Rogers science fiction fantasy stories weren't real. It's a common trait, and that's what you got to do to be a UFO Messiah. You got to control the narrative. You got to control what people think, what people feel, who people are allowed to communicate with. That's a very cult-like tactic. Number 3, if you're a UFO Messiah, you've got to pretend that you're under constant threat and attack. The best example of this is David Wilcock. The stream doesn't work well on a live stream for him, and he says he's under CIA attack, and the Dark Alliance is out to get him. And we've seen Emery Smith, another UFO Messiah that never was, claiming that people broke in his house and left a bullet on his counter. It turns out that was just a scam to run what? A PayPal donation scam, because greed. Okay, so, and they all pretend they're under constant threat and attack. Bob Lazar has done this. Remember, he was getting chased around. Somebody, rifled through his car. Somebody threatened to shoot him. They were going to kill him if he didn't shut up about those aliens. You've got to pretend that you're under constant threat and attack. And I think there's a psychological reason for this. Because for stupid people may go, oh, his information must be really important if the government's out to get him. It is a common part of these UFO Messiahs. They all pretend that they're under constant threat and attack. Look at Lou Elizondo. He claims people are attacking his family. Just because people ask questions is not an attack on your family, Lou Elizondo. And by the way, Billy Meyer claimed that Billy Meyer fans claimed that he survived something like 7 assassination attempts because people are trying to kill him for, making garbage can lid flying saucer models and hanging them on strings and pretending they're aliens. I don't know. Some of this is ridiculous, but number 3, they all pretend they're under constant threat and attack. Number 4, if you're a UFO Messiah, you need to viciously attack your critics or detractors. This is very, very important. We've seen Lou Elizondo do it. We've seen Tom DeLonge do it. We have seen Billy Meyer for sure They literally send hordes of sock accounts to harass you for 6 months if you say anything negative about them, their cult, and their glorious alien UFO Messiah leader. If you're going to be a UFO Messiah, you have got to do it. You've got to viciously attack your critics or detractors. We've seen Corey Goode do this. He's trying to sue everybody that said his Buck Rogers science fiction fantasy stories are not real. Number 4, you need to constantly hold fundraisers, GoFundMes, or donation scams. We've seen Stephen Greer do this. We've seen David Wilcock do this. We've seen Corey Goode do this. I don't know about the rest, but that is a common part of how these UFO Messiahs operate. You need to constantly be holding fundraisers, constantly be in need of money. It's an emergency. Dr. Stephen Greer crowdfunded saying that there was an emergency because the government was going to fake a fake alien UFO invasion, and he needed to make a documentary to let people know about that. And this is an emergency. He got something like $400,000 or $500,000 donated to him in a fundraiser. So to be a UFO Messiah, number 4, make sure you're constantly holding fundraisers, GoFundMes, or donation scams. Number 5, you've got to mix religion and New Age philosophy with aliens. We have seen for sure Billy Meyer do this. Some of the early contactee people did this. Van Tassel did it. Adamski did it. Menger did it. Billy Meyer for sure did it. Not so sure about Bob Lazar, though he did mix in some New Age, typical beliefs and mixed in some ancient alien stuff with his, saying that the spaceships came from an archaeological dig on a recent episode of Joe Rogan. Well, not a recent episode, but when he appeared on Joe Rogan. You've got to mix religion and New Age philosophy with the aliens. For sure, David Wilcock does this. He's talking to Egyptian gods, and now he's talking to the Archangel Michael and Jesus and Christ consciousness and the law of one. They all do this. And I believe that they mix religion and New Age philosophy with the aliens because they get a bigger tent. Not only do you get the people who believe in aliens, but you get all the crystal hippie bitches and the New Age people who believe in all that stuff, or religious people who are searching for some kind of new belief system. Number 5, all UFO Messiahs do this, most of them. I haven't seen Elizondo or DeLong do this. If they're around long enough, they will. Mix religion and New Age philosophy with the aliens. Number 6, you've got to manipulate groups to find and fleece new followers. And we have seen people do this. The UFO community, after all, is a group. Elizondo manipulated the UFO community. Tom DeLong manipulated the UFO community. Bob Lazar, for certain, David Wilcock, for certain, Corey Goode, for certain, Stephen Greer, has manipulated groups to find and fleece new followers. But it's not just UFO groups. Sometimes these people will infiltrate groups like meditation groups, yoga groups, groups about crystal healing and other wackadoo New Age things. They manipulate and infiltrate these groups to find and fleece new followers out of money. Number 7, if you're a UFO Messiah, you've got to constantly push that something big is happening or coming. This is one of the most common traits. David Wilcock does this all the time. He constantly claims that something big is going down. Corey Goode, same thing. Some big things are going to be happening in the next few months. Lou Elizondo, same thing. Some big new revelations are coming. There's going to be some new drops. Jeremy Corbell, same thing. All these UFO Messiahs are constantly claiming that something big is about to happen. And I believe there's a psychological reason for this as well. You want to be in on this big thing that's going to happen. You want to know about it before it happens. You want to be in the in crowd that know about this big something that's going to be happening, this big new drop of ground-shattering information, groundbreaking UFO information or a video or documents. Something big is happening or coming very soon. David Wilcock does this. Lou Elizondo, Tom DeLong, they all do that. Number 8, and the final part of the modus operandi of the UFO Messiahs is that you always have to be selling the latest, greatest, overhyped products. What do I mean by that? Courses, DVDs of documentaries, books, posters, comic books, whatever you got, and you have to overhype them and tell people this new, and they all do this. Stephen Greer with this last new documentary, The Big Pusher. It's like, we've got Rich from Goof on, and many other people, the Cousins brothers, all telling people, well, this new documentary is going to be so groundbreaking. You got to overhype the latest, greatest product that you're trying to get people's money for. You got to overhype. And again, overhype, you're going to underdeliver, but they all do it. Always be selling the latest, greatest overhyped products. We get they hype this Greer documentary for 6 months, a year. And what do we get? Fairy tales from Stephen Greer that you can instantly fact check and tell are bullshit. And a repeat of things he's already said in the previous 5 documentaries he was in. That's the latest, greatest overhyped product from Dr. Stephen Greer. We get the same thing from Corey Goode and David Wilcock. Oh, Above Majestic, it's so groundbreaking. All this information is so groundbreaking. You gotta see this. There's such groundbreaking information in this. And then you plop down your $20 or whatever it is, and you go, this is just a repeat of shit from Ancient Aliens and stuff that I've already heard before, repackaged. Overhyped products. You got to be selling overhyped products. Tom DeLonge, TTSA. Oh, we're going to have all these books. We're going to have a spaceship. You're selling the latest, greatest overhyped products. I believe Lou Elizondo's book is one of those latest, greatest overhyped products. If there was anything, apparently it's already written. If there was anything groundbreaking or really earth-shattering in Lou Elizondo's new book, I believe somebody from the publisher to somebody would have leaked it by now. That's most likely a latest, greatest overhyped product. So Dr. Stephen Greer does this, Corey Goode, Bob Lazar. His latest, greatest overhyped product is his book, which was terrible. And again, a retelling for the 1,000th time of his stupid original story. But that was his latest, greatest overhyped product. Billy Meyer is constantly hawking these very, very expensive books. Billy Meyer books with all the pictures of the alien, flying saucer models and all. They're like $100 a piece, the full color ones. Very, very expensive. And again, overhyped product. They all do it. If you're going to be a UFO Messiah, you got to sell the latest, greatest overhyped products. So what I'm going to do right now, before I forget, is I am going to, you can follow me on Twitter. It's probably a good idea if you're interested in the show here that you follow me on Twitter. I am going to post these 2 graphics right now on Twitter, if it lets me. There we go. Because I want this to be the educational. I want this tonight's show to be educational, informative, and a cautionary tale. So the next time that you spot what just may be a UFO Messiah, you are going to know about it because you'll be able to look at these common traits of the UFO Messiahs and also their modus operandi, see how they operate. Okay, 1 second. I'm going to tweet this out before I forget because I want people to have access to that, these graphics. So you too will be able to spot a UFO Messiah when you see one. I would caution people against UFO Messiahs. I would, listen, we've all been victims in one form or another of these UFO Messiahs. I was just a victim of Dr. Stephen Greer. I thought I was done being a victim of Dr. Stephen Greer, but I bought that shitty Third Phase of Moon documentary, where he went on a secret mission with Billy Gibbons, the guitar player from ZZ Top, and, said that an entire engineering firm got murdered in Michigan. Stephen Greer and the Cousins brothers got me for $13, and I want my 13 goddamn dollars back because that documentary was filled with garbage, lies, and fairy tales. I want my $13 back. I would advise you to never give money to any of these UFO Messiahs. And we can see why. They overhype things, they overpromise, and always underdeliver. Why would you give your money just to be disappointed, right? I don't think that's a good idea. Yeah. So we're going to take a short musical break, and then I'm going to check in with the live chat. Let's find a good guest here. I'm a little light on the musical guests lately. So if you have any music that I could use, feel free to send it to truthseekershow@gmail.com. All right, we're gonna take a short break, and then after that, I've got more time for you tonight. So we can have a discussion with the live chat. I'll read any remaining super chats. We'll check in with the PayPal donators and all that kind of stuff. We'll be right back, friends.
Order
And we're back, friends. So I've got a little bit more time. We'll give some time and attention to the live chat. Just bear with me for a moment while I'm going to check in with the PayPal donators. There's instructions if you're feeling generous for how to send either a PayPal donation, or you can use the super chat function. That's just the money button down there, and throw a couple bucks in our hat and keep us doing this work. Wow. I say I read every donation. If you send me a note, I read every one. So I want to thank Joinery John for a kind and generous $5 PayPal donation. And let me read this one here. Whew. Kind and generous $5 PayPal donation says from Tina, who says, for going after the con man bros, F Goofon, and you're welcome. I got him banned on Twitter. I can't stand that. CUNT. Well, thank you, Tina, for your kind and generous. Jesus Christ. I say I read every PayPal note, so we read it, and I read every super chat as well. Thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and support, and for helping us to praise the cash. Kind and generous people all over the world, some of which thanks, John and Tina, says the Sixth Sense. Yeah, so any questions or comments for me, please do put them in all caps. I noticed somebody mentioning Richard Dolan. Now, I did include everybody that I consider one of the UFO Messiahs here. I gave you my list of the UFO Messiahs from the beginning of the UFO contactee movement in the late 50s, early 60s, all the way through till today. But there are certainly some minor UFO Messiahs. I would count some people like Linda Moulton Howe, Richard Dolan, Stephen Bassett, and more. And again, if you look at that list if you look at these graphics that I generated for tonight's broadcast, you will see how they fit the bill as well for many of those things, right? You will see how they definitely check a lot of those boxes. But I included the major ones. There are for sure many, many minor UFO Messiahs that try their best to check all those boxes and be one of the great UFO Messiahs. Maybe to me that some of those people just fall a little short, or they don't check enough boxes, but they check enough of them. So you can compare everybody in the UFO community to this list, right? Lord Ludicrous says, that's why I said you need a part 2. Maybe we'll do that. I think Lord Ludicrous Dolan is in a different group. Nah, I don't think so. I think he's a con artist like the rest of these people. In my opinion, he sells garbage information. He's interviewing dead people to sell alien stories. He went with Jaime Maussan, the king of UFO hoaxes, to do the UFO circle jerk called the Roswell slides. There's been many, many stories that are fake, like the Wilson documents that he's involved in. David Bucky says, Goofon is stupid. He'll call out Corbell, but not third phase. Well, there's a reason, and that is, David Bucky, Corbell's not paying him every month. Corbell does not pay him, so, he has no reason not to call Corbell, a shyster. He has a reason to not call Third Phase of Moon a shyster. And by the way, for those of you who liked, me screaming at people, some people found it entertaining, so I posted it. I posted earlier today the clip from Alien Scientist Show where I kind of went after, I really went after Third Phase of Moon. I said, and I stand by my statements, that they peddle garbage into this conversation, and they have done nothing but peddle garbage into this conversation. They have no value. To me, they offer no value whatsoever, except for cop-outs and excuses. Well, people send us stuff, and we just put it out there and let the public decide. That's a nice cop-out for shoveling so much garbage into the conversation over the years, right? Yeah, and it's making me sad. Sixth Sense. Sixth Sense says apparently, if you want 1 million subs, you must be shady, grifty, scammy. Apparently, I think you could do it honestly, but it's a lot harder. Yes, Lord Ludacris says, of course he is, about Richard Dolan, I'm assuming. Of course he is a con artist. I'm saying that he is in the researcher group of Messiahs. Yes, Lord Ludacris says, I'm saying Dolan is in the research group Messiah. That's the different group I meant. Don't want people thinking I'm defending Dolan. Yes. Yeah, good point. Mike Gambly says, need to show how the belief media prop it up and push it without question. Fade to black, SOR, UCR, third phase, etc. Sure. Did he really say that? Also I'm finding out that I don't know. I gotta check in the Discord. But Rich from Goofon is kind of going off the rails, I think. And it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. He apparently went after another couple of show hosts. And what exactly did he say? One second. In another show, Rich from Goofon said that he was the best researcher in the world. And he went after the show hosts and said that they are trash researchers. Great. He's such a great researcher, but he can't get the fact that the fact that Third Phase of Moon is constantly running hoaxes and manipulating stories to play, UFO fairy tales. And then listen, the argument that he has, and that they listen, it's a defensive talking point, and that is, well, they made some mistakes when they started, but they're really doing better now. They're trying to do it the right way now. Well, we just showed that as early, or as recently, I should say, as of February of this year, they got caught completely and totally running a UFO hoax. They took a video, cut out the explanation for how somebody made a fake video, and just ran with the fake video footage, claiming that it was something it clearly was not. And when the person who they stole the video from called them on it, they got nasty with them. And then they took the video down and created a new hoax saying that, the person that sent it in wanted it taken down, and that this is total manipulation. And one of the other things that they do that really annoys me is that they put up a thumbnail of a really clarity, like a real clear representation of some sort of spacecraft, and then you see the video and it's nothing like the thumbnail. It's thumbnail garbage. And on my show previously, Third Phase, they all but laughed at me for not doing clickbait garbage on purpose. They're like, well, you got to do clickbait if you want to be good, if you want to be successful. No, I don't think you do. I'm sure I'm certainly guilty of some of that myself. I try to write a good title to a video that would entice people to watch it, but I try to not be misleading in the titles and resort to what is just clickbait. I didn't plan on getting into a discussion. I thought we were past this, but people want to talk about it. Asman says, I can't believe Rich is that gullible. I know he isn't. He can tell he's a smart guy. Maybe there's financial incentives. Yeah, he said they pay him. Well, in the same sentence, first he said they don't pay me. Then he explained how they pay him. It's the only thing that makes sense to me, right? Wow. Popped up on Twitter today. The same video you debunked, Think Tank put it up as a real video with several people believing it. Yeah, that's what these guys do. They manipulate the videos to, cut out anything, or they manipulate the videos to make people think that it's a real flying saucer, a real UFO, real TR3B, whatever, and it's unfortunate, right? Yeah, Cosmic Neighbors pointing out that they have 800,000 subs but struggle to get 30,000 views. And Bobby Broadway says, "Goof on, we know you're lurking." Yeah, somebody told me you didn't do a show today. Hey, best of luck to him. But like I said, I'm not going to support anybody that supports that kind of bullshit anymore. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to support people that make excuses for people that are peddling garbage into the conversation. And clearly, Third Phase of Moon has shoveled more garbage videos into this UFO and alien world than anybody else. Well, I guess them and Secure Team. Not a fan of that guy either. And that guy's another guy who says, well, I got caught hoaxing things. I made mistakes, but now I'm doing it the right way. Okay. Bobby Stewart's saying that Rich only comes out to get the donations. Somebody said that Third Phase of Moon's music sucks real bad. I'm a musician, and I'm sorry, but I would have to agree with you. I heard some of the stuff that they did, and I was like, wow. It sounds like, some 80s garage band, and that's not even recorded well. And I would think with their kind of resources, they could afford good equipment and recording and a producer to make the music sound better than maybe they're able to do on their own. I don't know. John Lies says, true believers will always defend to the last word. No matter how fake or plausible things may be, they may need to believe in the unreal. Yeah, people are arguing with me over that Lou Elizondo video in the comments, and they're saying, no, ATIP was a real program. I'm like, no, it wasn't. ATIP does not exist. It wasn't a program. There's no mountain of paperwork proving that Lou Elizondo investigated UFOs. Nothing. It's all a psyop. It's all a manipulated, constructed narrative that many, many people fell for. Oh, by the way, that reminds me. The new talking points have been given out to the Lou Elizondo ass lickers. And I'm going to share my screen here. This is one of the big Lou Elizondo ass lickers, Alejandro Rojas, who says, Congressman Tim Burchett tweets support for former Pentagon UAP portfolio manager Louis Elizondo to testify in Congress. So forget former ATIP director. Now they're calling him, the Lou Elizondo ass lickers are now calling him the former Pentagon UAP portfolio manager. And it's not just this Lou Elizondo ass licker. Congratulations, Alejandro Rojas, you dumb dickhead. You are helping him with damage control here. You are helping him recraft the narrative. Now, let's forget about ATIP, since we all know that there was no ATIP program. There was no Pentagon program to study UFOs called ATIP. That was horseshit. Lies fed to us by Lou Elizondo, the latest in the long line of UFO Messiahs, right? Former Pentagon UAP portfolio manager. Now he's the former Pentagon UAP portfolio manager. And UFO Reality Check, who I crack up looking at some of his tweets, because I'm sure we agree on many things. I'm sure we disagree as well. But he says UAP portfolio manager, meaning he had a folder of UFO pictures on his desktop. Yeah. And Philip Jeffrey says he was a picture manager. And yeah, somebody who blocked me. Neil Diamond Hand says it's like being assistant to the regional manager. But by the way, it's not. It's very important that I point out that it's not just Alejandro Rojas, the Lou Elizondo ass licker, that is helping with this new narrative they're trying to craft to salvage Lou Elizondo's UFO career. He's trying to salvage his UFO huckster career. Now they're going to call him the former Pentagon UAP portfolio manager. And I would just like to ask Alejandro Rojas, what the hell does that even mean? That's a made-up bullshit garbage term, made up by, I believe, Lou Elizondo, and sent out to his ass-licking supporters that are going to help him continue to manipulate the UFO community, into, some profit for him. Now he's the former Pentagon UAP portfolio manager. I call bullshit. No such thing. He did no such thing. He never investigated any UFOs for the United States government. Find me one piece of paper proving, and I mean not the one from a dead senator that was involved in a $20 million scam to scam the United States government out of $20 million. I mean, find me investigative reports. Find me meeting minutes where he was talking to his team of UFO investigators. Find me some paperwork that proves Lou Elizondo ever investigated UFOs for the United States government. No one of these Lou Elizondo ass lickers can do that. Do you know why? Because that paperwork does not exist. Because Lou Elizondo is an artificial construct, probably constructed by the CIA to infiltrate the UFO community and control the narrative. But this is where we find ourselves, right? This is where we find ourselves, and this is where we're at. All right, so we've done I've done my job today. I wanted to come here. I've had this UFO Messiah presentation on my list for quite a long time. David Bucky, does anybody have any feelings on John Greenwald Jr.? I always say this. I can count the 5 people who I think are trustworthy UFO researchers on one hand. And yeah, that's John Greenwald. Oh, I didn't mean it like that. No. Let's do it that way. That's John Greenwald. I can count the credible UFO researchers that I trust are telling me the truth and not manipulating me, not just profit-based garbage. I can count them on one hand. John Greenwald is one of those people on my one hand. I think he does great work. Does he get everything right? No, neither do I. Neither does anybody, right? There are just a few researchers, and some people have fallen off of that recently, given their support for third phase of garbage. Yeah, maybe we ought to do a parody, third phase of garbage, right? That'd be fun. John Lies says, if you work at the Pentagon, even as a janitor, you can create a department out of paper. Just need to come up with a budget. They love spending money on nothing. Big Fat Creep is here and says, what up, Truth Seekers? Who the Messiah after all? Well, feel free to rewind. We've covered many of these UFO Messiahs throughout history, from the early contactee movement from the late 1950s all up until present day. And I hope people will appreciate that, and maybe people will, go back to that when the new. I'm telling you guys, listen, hear my words, and remember, Lou Elizondo is on his way out. So a new UFO Messiah is going to be showing up any day now. Sometime in the next 6 months, we'll have a new UFO Messiah making a lot of the same promises, over promising and under delivering, selling overhyped products that never deliver. That is coming. There's a new one coming in the next, I'd say 6 months, maybe a year max. We'll have a new UFO Messiah. And Lou Elizondo will be on his way out. He will be working UFO cruise ships with Linda Moulton Howe and Richard Dolan and stupid UFO conferences. He'll be speaking he will be relegated to be just like all the other UFO hucksters, running around from conference to conference, telling the same old stories. B. Baker says, is it true that Greer is building a compound for his cult? Somebody said that in the chat. Not sure if they were joking. Yeah, he is. And again, he's going to fundraise for that. You got to pay for that for him, B. Baker. He's not going to pay for it himself out of the millions of dollars he's already profited from, earned from the UFO community. He wants you to pay for a compound so that he could, sell people $5,000 weekends to see the aliens. Cousin twin skit with them in red coats licking Greer's back scars like that episode of Outlander. Oh, God, somebody clip that and send it to me. That's gross. Yes, and King of Hugo Munda says, Lou is evil. He wants all in the news spreading fact shit. Yeah. Davina says, I forwarded the email I got. Oh, let's take a look. Thank you, Davina. maybe that wasn't from me. I don't see an email for it. Okay, no big deal. So look, we've done. Lord Ludicrous says you really need to talk to Jeff over at Strange Recon. He was talking about Lou using crystals in the desert and that whole group turning into weird shit. Yeah, I've heard about him. Listened to him a few times. Can't say I disagree with that guy. I'll check him out when I get a chance. But Lord Ludicrous, I told you I'm trying to stay away from other shows, other show hosts. That's where all the drama comes from, right? David Bucky says, Dolan doesn't focus on narrative. Come on, he called out the Admiral Byrd story as fake when all the other panelists were pushing it. Yeah, I mean, sometimes he gets it right, but he gets it wrong an awful lot. He gets it wrong as well. Paragon Reason says, why does Greer always hint that he knows more and such, but he never reveals it? Disclose it for disclosure. Why he hold out? He's holding out so you give him more money. That's another thing that I just want to mention. We have seen this long line of UFO Messiahs through history. Not one of them has brought us what they promised. Not one. So part of me, when I saw Lou Elizondo, that I instantly went, here's another UFO Messiah. And he's promising he's going to do all these things, and he's going to bring us the truth about those aliens. And he never will, just like the rest of them never will and never did. They overpromise and they underdeliver. B. Baker says, never trust a CIA agent with a soul patch. Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. Asman says, I've only been involved with ufology for about 12 months, but I've learned a lot. Hey, I'm glad that you found us, because I'll save you a lot of time. Watch some of my videos. You'll find out who's full of shit. Most of them are full of shit, Asman. Most of these people are full of shit. But you can save yourself a lot of time. When I got heavily involved in this, I listened to so many people, and I wasted so much time because so many of them were full of shit, and I didn't know it. When I got into the rabbit hole, you only find out the further down you go, right? Sixth Sense is reminding people we have a Cash App, and you can send me money through Cash App. We like money. Yeah. There's another thing. There is one other way that you can help our show besides throwing money at us, which is always helpful. And that is that you can like, comment, subscribe, and share these videos. It really does help. The algorithm loves interaction. So let us know. Tell us who you think is the worst UFO Messiah. Tell us who you think the best UFO Messiah is. Tell me what UFO Messiahs I left off the list that you think I should have included. Let me know down here in the comments. It really does help. It raises us in the search engines. It helps more people to find us, and YouTube loves the interaction. So please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And if you should happen to be listening in audio podcast land, just know you're missing half the fun. I think that you would enjoy go on over to YouTube, put Truthseekers, one word, in the search bar. Look for me, the guy with the glasses. Smash the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and you too will know when we're doing a live taping. We record the audio podcast right here live on YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitter. So come on over to YouTube, which is the hub of our show, really. Search for Truthseekers in the search bar. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and come here and be a part of our live chats and discussions. We love the interaction from our audience. We encourage you to be a part of the show. Don't just listen to it. Don't just watch it. Come here and be a part of the show. We take questions and comments from the live chat. We have interesting discussions. You are most welcome. Come and find us if you're listening in audio podcast land for the live tapings. Anthony Peterson says, I'm really interested in this topic, but it's a bit disillusioning finding out that there is so much misinformation and grifters in the field. I don't want to say it's 90%, but I'm getting there to say that 90% of these people that are selling these stories are full of shit. There's very few credible people. And that's very challenging because I don't want to start just hosting nutters and disinformation agents and misinformation garbage peddlers, right? Asman says, I'm subscribed and got the notifications. Good. Glad that you found us, Asman. You are most welcome here. We welcome believers. We welcome skeptics. We welcome people brand new to these topics. We welcome people that are veterans and have been here for 50 years. All are welcome here. Truthertainment says, sometime I feel robbed. I started UFO stuff back in the Arthur C. Clarke days. Then Art Bell ends. Geez, so much time wasted, but entertaining. Well, if nothing else, it is a form of entertainment for many people. John Griffin is here. Welcome, John Griffin says, you're the man, Cambion, I think. Welcome. Yeah, and B. Baker is handing out the link to the Discord server, so you can come and talk to us crazy people, us nutters, that are into these strange and esoteric topics, not just while there's a live broadcast in the live chat. We have a 24/7 live chat in the Discord server where many of our audience members hang out, and that really, really is a fun thing. You should come and be a part of the community there. Sandy Smith is here. Welcome. Sandy Smith says, in 1975, I lived in Landers, California, where the Integratron and Giant Rock Airport are located. The Integratron was a 2-mile view outside my living room window. It was lit up every night at the airport there. Yeah, I have never been, but I know people who have been. And most people I know who visited there were kind of disappointed because it's just a big, empty, big building, with interesting acoustics, but no aliens and no time travel. And, I think, Sandy Smith, that whole Integratron thing was just a scam. That guy collected money and collected more money and more money and more money and was always in need of money to get the parts or materials to build this machine, and he never did it. He had 10 years to do it, 20 years to do it. He never did it. It never worked. It never did anything. It was an interesting conversation starter. It's an interesting looking building, a domed building. But other than that, he overpromised and underdelivered, which is what all these UFO messiahs do. B. Baker, Art Bell sometimes did put people on air for entertainment, even though he knew they were full of crap. I suppose I've done that too. John Lice says, the late Art Bell was the voice of reason, but even he had time to put the crazies on air. Great voice, though. Yeah, I miss Art Bell. I grew up listening to him. He was one of the inspirations for me starting a show, right? Big Fat Creep says, I love the topic of UFOs. Grew up believing so much BS. Love those fake-ass stories. Wow, welcome to the show, says Whitley Screwball. For me, is in the top 5 messiahs. I didn't consider him in the same. He didn't check enough boxes for me, but maybe I'm biased because I like the guy. Maybe I lost my objectivity when it comes to him. Hoagland should definitely be on the UFO Messiah list. He checks all the boxes, overpromised, underdelivered, constantly hawking overhyped products and services and things. Yeah. And how do I say this? Hacks808X says, hi, great show. Hi, great to see you here. You are most welcome. Paragon is downloading the Discord. Yeah, good. King of Hugo Mundo says, I was shocked to see Linda Moulton Howe go crazy in an interview she did on YouTube. She went insane. That was my question that interviewer asked her when she went nuts. Yeah, she really kind of lost it, right? David Bucky says, Richard Hoagland for sure. Lord Ludicrous says, great show tonight. Well, thanks for all the positive feedback, guys. I've got a bunch more little presentations like that I'm going to be doing in the coming weeks. We're going to try to get back to, the reason that I have a show, and that is not to argue with other show hosts and personalities involved in this thing, but to do great shows. So, yeah, Lord Ludicrous says, I broke Linda Moulton Howe. Somebody had to do it. All right, friends. So, listen, I have done my due diligence today. I had some goals for today, and one of them was to get this UFO Messiahs out of my notes and into broadcast out into the world so everybody can experience what the UFO Messiahs are. I hope, though, that it's not just, you know, I hope that tonight was not just entertaining, but is also informative, because I really think that these lists of the common traits is very important. And these people, you know, they all share a lot of common traits. And I believe that if we observe newcomers that are trying to become UFO Messiahs, if we just watch, right? If we watch them and we reference the lists that I made to look for the common traits and their modus operandi, we may be surprised that we'll be able to spot a UFO Messiah coming and not be victimized by them, like we may have been in the future for many of these people. You know, I think history is a great teacher, and what history teaches us about these UFO Messiahs is that they all do the same thing. They overpromise, they underdeliver, they manipulate and deceive people, they constantly need your money, and they never deliver what they promise. And this is a common trait among all of them. Every one of them do many of the same things. You know, I guess they all sit around watching each other, or the newer ones watched all the scammy stuff that the ones before them did to be successful at manipulating people, to be successful at essentially stealing money from people for garbage information, and they emulate those people. Maybe that's why there's so many common traits between them and common methods of operation between them. But we did our due diligence today. No place I'd rather be than right here with you. I'm happy to say that the new studio is working out great. I don't have those fancy lights here yet. I'm not even sure they're necessary. Maybe they're a bit of a distraction. But I like them, so I'm probably going to put them back. Just have to set them up. I have new ones in a box over here. But the new studio seems to be functioning. Everything seems to be working. And I'm thankful for that. Thanks to all of you throwing a couple of bucks in my hat, because I was able to get some new gear to set all of this stuff up. This is a viewer-supported show, and it operates through the generosity and kindness of people like you on Patreon, people like you becoming channel members, sending PayPal donations or Super Chats or Cash App pledges. It really does help. All right, that's all I got for you, friends. I hope that, like I said, this is going to be educational for some people that may be new to this. Maybe it will help prevent some people from getting conned by one of these UFO Messiahs. There's going to be more. There's a long line and history of these UFO Messiahs. More are coming. But hopefully, with the lists I put out and the identifiers, you'll be able to tell when someone is trying to be a UFO Messiah in the future. And yeah, I'm sure that we could do a part 2 on this, and maybe we will someday. But that's all I got for you for today. We'll be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with a new show for you. I got some special surprises coming up for tomorrow. It's my last work day of the week, and then I'm off to the cabin. So, yeah, I'm gonna do something special tomorrow night for you guys. Hope to see you all again tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So until next time, friends, my name is Stephen Cambion, reminding you that no UFO Messiah has ever delivered disclosure. No UFO Messiah has ever delivered the smoking gun evidence or proof of extraterrestrial visitation. So be careful when trusting a UFO Messiah. Good night, and God bless